Okay, guys, this is Miss Simpson, and I just wanted to create a quick video to help us review different ecosystems and biomes and a couple different vocab terms that we've talked about recently. And so my screen is right now loading to present, or it's supposed to be loading to present this presentation. Oh, here we go. Loading, loading, loading. Let's see if it will pop our picture up that it is supposed to. There we go. So, what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is the living and non-living objects in an environment. So there is non-living things there, such as the sun, water, mountains, soil, clouds. And there's also living things there, such as animals, plants, bacteria, and cells. So I believe we've covered this slide together, and you guys have actually filled this slide in before. What is a biome? So I know that we've been researching and talking about biomes a little bit, but a biome is a large community of plants and animals with a similar climate. So in this picture, it shows a color-coded picture of all the biomes across the world. So all the areas that have the same color, that means that they have the same relative temperature and precipitation rates and whatnot. So aquatic biomes, that's a biome that is in water, like ocean, lake, or marsh, okay? Terrestrial biome, that is a biome that is on land. So biomes, large community of plants and animals with similar climate. And you need to think of climate as like long-term weather in that area, okay? A general overview of what happens on a normal day in that area. You have two different types of biomes, aquatic or terrestrial. So in that aquatic category, there is things such as the marine or freshwater, okay? Marine meaning the ocean. Freshwater meaning the lakes, the rivers, the streams. Terrestrial is anything land. So deserts, forests, tundra, taiga, okay? Estuaries and marshes, we're going to cover this next week. Lakes and ponds, same thing, covering it next week. Oceans, covering that next week. Deciduous forest. So we have talked about this a little bit last week. So it's a mid-latitudes of the northern hemisphere. Some organisms that live there is deer, raccoons, squirrels, cardinals, moss, fern, and oak trees. So you live in the deciduous forest. When you look outside and when you look into the woods where you live, like this, we live in the deciduous forest. We are used to the deciduous forest. We have 4 different seasons. The trees lose their leaves. We really get to experience the best of both worlds when it comes to experiencing all the different temperatures versus it always being really hot or really cold. So we live in a very diverse biome. Tropical rainforest. So the location is near the equator. The closer you get to the equator, the warmer it is. Organisms that live there, such as sloth, toucan, monkeys, different tree frogs, vines, cocoa. It's very warm. It has lots of rain. That's why it's called the rainforest. It has the most variety of life. So there is so many different animals and plants that live there. It is insane. It has the highest variety of life. The grasslands, savanna, we talked about this last week. This is located also near the equator. It's a little bit warmer there. Some organism is gazelles, buffalo, lions, rhinos, giraffes, grass, gum trees. Some facts, well, it's the grassland, so it has a lot of grass, right? Very few trees, so it's not very wooded like it is here. Prey animals hide in the grass to catch prey. So that's an adaptation they've made. They hide in the grass to then sneak up on the prey. So the taiga, so it's located near the poles. Some different things that live there is wolverine, snowshoe hare, bobcats, evergreen trees. Evergreen trees means that their trees do not lose their leaves like our trees do. So facts, a lot of Christmas trees. The tundra. The tundra is like where Santa Claus lives. Okay, it's at the poles. It has muskox, Arctic hares, polar bears, lichen, moss. It's very cold and no trees. Incredibly cold. So the desert, not dessert like you eat at dinner, but the desert located near the equator. We go into the desert just a little bit more in depth later, okay? We have reviewed types of organisms, and I believe you have already completed this slide previously, but just to continue to review and spiral to go over these terms that we've already talked about, we're going to review the different types of organisms. So we have producers, we have consumers, and we have decomposers. Producers make their own food through photosynthesis. Some examples are plants, trees, and bushes. Consumers that eat plants or other animals, it's like mammals, fish, birds, and decomposers break down dead organisms. So some examples, decomposers are really hard to think of examples for, but bacteria, mushrooms, and earthworms are examples of decomposers. So if you zoom in on the types of consumers, we can narrow it down even more. And we have things that only eat plants, such as herbivores, things that only eat animals, such as carnivores, things that eat both plants and animals, such as omnivores, and things that eat dead animals, such as scavengers. Okay, so the hyenas, like on the Lion King, that's also an example of scavengers. Food webs, or food chains, sorry. So it's a diagram that shows what each organism eats. So it also shows a transfer of energy. Where did the original energy come from? The sun. The sun is the source of energy for plants, and then the plants create their own energy using that. The other animals also then eat, and so on and so forth. So it's a chain of who eats what. Food web is a bunch of those food chains connected. It shows how energy flows in an ecosystem. The arrows point from the prey to the predator to show which way the energy is flowing. So energy pyramids is the same type of concept. You have your producers on the bottom. There is more producers than there is primary consumers, because if there was not, your primary consumers would have a really hard time competing for food, and some of them would actually die off. And then it gets even smaller for secondary consumers and even smaller for tertiary consumers. So the energy pyramid is a model that shows the energy that is lost within an ecosystem. The primary consumers eats the producers or the plants. The secondary consumers eats the herbivores, because the primary consumers have to only eat these plants. Secondary consumers eat the primary consumers. Tertiary consumers is the top of the food chain. Nothing eats him. There is a much better chance that that animal is going to die just from old age or being injured or something of that nature, not by being, a prey to a predator. Habitat means home. Habitat, home. Population, that is a group of the same organisms in that area, where a community is all of the organisms that live in that area. So when I look off my back porch right now, I might see a bunch of squirrels. I see a population of squirrels. But if I was talking about the community that's off my back porch, I would also be talking about the squirrels, the rabbits, the snakes, the deer, the turkeys. So that is the difference between the population and the community. And the home is where they live. Now, we have not talked yet about competition and adaptations. That's something we're going to cover a little bit later. So we are going to stop here. But that is just a quick review of different biomes and different vocab words we've talked about throughout our ecosystems unit. Okay, bye.